So the topic is, are you here now? The topic is labour market. And when we talk about labour market, we're simply talking about where the demand for and supply of labour have interaction. That is what the labour market is. As soon as you're done from the university, you have to go to the labour market to search for a job. So you're in the labour market because now you've graduated, you need to search for a job. So that's why the labour market is that in place where the demand for labour and supply of labour has interaction. Sorry. Is it clear? So scroll down, please. Alright, thank you. So they said the demand call for labour. So before we go, they said the price of labour is wage rate. So as soon as you're working, you need to get reward for the work done. So the reward for work done is what we call wage rate. The reward for the work done is what? The wage rate. That, even in the factors of production, said the reward for labor is what? Wages or salary. Yes or no? In the factors of production, labor is a factor of production, right? The reward for labor is wages. So in the labor market, as soon as you start working, you should get a wage. So it's like the price of labor is what? Wage rate. That's what it is. So this is the amount of money that has to be paid to people for them to work for a period of time. So if you are going to work, you're going to work for a certain period of time. So it could be from 8 o'clock to 6 o'clock every day. It could be from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock twice in a week. Whatever the case might be, even as much as you are working, you have to get paid for the job. Do we understand it? So first, let's talk about labor. So labor is the physical and mental effort used in production of goods and services. So we go on labor, that's what labor is. It's human or mental effort that is used because of producing goods or services. So as far as you are used, either through mental or physical, you need to get what? Wage. I think it's good. Any question for now? We'll move on. Okay. Do you want to write anything here? You took the picture already.
Yeah.
Can I continue?
Yes.
Alright. So that's about that. So let's look at here. So hold on please. Here I said the quantity of workers, the demand for labor. Alright, let's go to the demand for labor curve. So before we go to the demand for labor curve, what is demand for labor? Demand for labor is the total number of workers firms are willing to employ at a given period of time. The total number of workers firms are willing to employ at a given period of time. Demand for labor. So demand for labor. Demand for labor. The total number of workers firms are willing to employ at a given wage rates. The wage rate we're talking about. So the total number of workers firms are willing to employ at a given wage rate is what? Demand for labor. Is it clear, please? Yeah. Great. Now, for the demand curve for labor, it said the demand curve for labor slopes downward. So look at this graph, please. Just take a look at the graph. It's downward, right? Why is it downward? It is downward because firms will be willing to pay less when the wage rate is what? Falling. It is downward. So look at it here. At 800, the total number of workers are what? 80, quantity of workers. As soon as it goes down, so from 800 to 600, what happens? It increases to what? 100. So it is always what? On the downward slope. Do you get it?
Yeah.
You don't get it, right? I'll explain again. We have the demand for labor curve. This is demand for labor. The number of workers firms are willing to employ at a given period of time. That is demand for labor. Now we have a curve, a graph representing the demand for labor. So I'm putting it to you. If you are a company, will you employ more workers when the wage rate is high or when the wage rate is low? When what you have to pay to them is high or low, when will you employ more? No, I'm asking her. Do you get my question? You as a company, when will you be able to employ more workers? Is it when you have to pay them more wage or less wage? Less wage. So that's why the demand for labor curve is what? Downward slope. The lower the wage rate, the higher the number of workers firms will be willing to employ. Are you here?
Yes.
Do you get the point here? So look at basically on the graph here. Here we have the wage rate to be 800. At 800, the total number of workers firms are willing to employ is 80. But as soon as the wage rate fell from 800 to 600, the number of workers increases to what? 100. So that's why it's what? Downward slope. Is it clear? Any question about demand for labor?
No.
Okay. So we move on. Thank you. Can I go off?
Yeah.
Those are graphics. You have a question or what? Okay. Yeah, so we go to the factors affecting the demand for labor. Meanwhile, labor itself is a derived demand. Let me quickly explain that to you. Labor is what? A derived demand. Why? We only employ workers when we have a job for them. You wouldn't employ me to come and sit down and get me paid. Yes or no?
Yeah.
So that's why labor is what? Derived demand. Labor is employed only when it has to produce good or service. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Just put that in your mind also, okay? So go on. So we're going to the factors affecting the demand for labor. So here we're talking about those reasons why firms would be willing to employ workers, or reasons why firms might not be able to employ workers. Are you with me, guys?
Yeah.
All right. So we start with the first one. Yeah, it said the wage. Explain this. Okay. Yeah. It said the wage rate is not the only factor. So the first factor that affects the quantity demanded for labor is the wages. If wages are less, firms will be willing to employ more workers. If wages is high, firms will not be willing to employ workers because their cost of wages will increase. Do you get it? So the first factor.
To reduce the revenue.
Yeah, it reduces. It increases their cost. It does not reduce the revenue. It reduces their profits. Because profit is total revenue minus total cost. Total revenue is the amount of sales you make. Yeah. So employing more workers does not mean that you're not going to sell. Not employing more workers does not even imply that you're not going to sell. But employing more workers and you have to pay more will affect your cost, not your revenue. So as soon as it affects your cost, it affects your profits, not your revenue. Okay, great. So the first factor is wages. We talked about that, right? Now, the second factor is demand for the product. Yes, the demand for labor is said to be, okay, yeah, I talked about it already. Derived demand. So, if our goods and services are needed more often, we need to employ more workers so that we can meet up with the demand for our product. Yes or no? We don't want to disappoint our customers. As a result, we need to employ more workers so that they can produce more to make up for those customers. We need to employ more workers to make up for the needs of our customers.
Yeah.
So the demand for your product will decide if it is when labor is needed or not needed. Is it clear?
Yeah.
The second one. Do you want to try anything about it? Does it clear?
Yes, please.
Ashley?
Yeah.
Okay. Demand for the product. So yeah. So if the demand for labor increases, firms might be willing to employ more workers. Is it clear? Good. The second one, availability of substitutes. It says the demand for labor may be affected by the cost and the availability of substitutes for labor. What is the substitute for labor? Machines. Yes or no?
Yes.
So if it's easier for us to get equipment or machines that will be more efficient and less cost effective, sorry. If it's easier for us to get equipment or machines that are cost effective and efficient, we would replace them with workers. Do you get the point? Do you get it or not?
Cost effective.
Cost effective means less cost.
Less cost.
So if getting the machine would help us to get the job done.
Every month.
Instead of what? Instead of
When you replace the labor
with machines.
with machines, you won't pay.
You won't pay wages.
Yeah, so then you think, yes, you won't pay week monthly anymore. If it is cost effective for your company, do it. That is what the point is saying here. So you said the demand for, let's do something. Okay. For example, in many organizations, it's possible to replace people with machines. So if it is cost effective for us to replace, if it is cost effective for your company to replace me with machine, you do.
Yeah.
Do you get the point? So the demand for labor will be decided by how the substitute for labor is. Is it expensive or is it expensive?
Is it affordable or
is it affordable or not? Is it clear?
Yeah.
Do you want to try something about it? Yes. Right? Clear?
Yes.
Alright, the third one, productivity of labor. What is productivity? We said productivity is output divided by input, right? So, if productivity will increase when you employ more workers, why can't you employ them? Employ them. If employing more workers increases the productivity of your firm, you employ more. So if you feel employing more workers would affect your productivity, or is not even having impact, positive impact in your productivity, you do away with them. Do you get it?
Yeah.
How productive workers are will determine if workers are needed more or not. That is productivity. Is it clear?
Yes.
And should I write something about it?
Yes.
Okay. So if workers are more efficient, firms may employ more. They will be motivated to employ. Because they know if they do employ, they get more output. Is it clear? The next one. And fourth, when you're writing about productivity, remember productivity is output divided by input. Then other employment costs. So, if we have to incur so much cost in the cost of employing workers, we might not be employing them. We're going to do interview, we're going to run interview, we're going to run through recruitment and selection, yes or no, in business, right? So if the amount of money you have to spend employing more workers is high, you might not be willing to employ more. Or if you think you have to employ these workers and you have to train them, training is expensive, you might not be willing to employ. So that is other employment cost. Is it clear?
Yes.
Any question about that?
No.
Shall we move on? Let's go down, please. So, when wages affect the demand curve for labor, it contracts or expands. It is movement along the demand curve for labor. But when other factors are in place, it is shift in the demand curve. So, look at it here. As soon as the wage rate, as soon as other factors that affect the quantity demanded for labor increases or decreases, it shifts the demand for labor curve rightward or leftward. Yeah, from DL1 to DL2 or from DL2 to DL1. Here, wage is what? Constant. Ceteris paribus. So all things being equal, when it comes to wage rates will not be affected, but other factors will be affected, like the cost of employing workers, like the availability of substitutes. These ones will affect. When it affects the demand for labor, it shifts the demand for labor curve right or to the left. Do you understand?
Example, right?
Example.
Yeah. Example of shifting the.
Okay, let's say the cost of employment reduces for firms. The cost of employment reduces for firms. firms will be willing to employ more workers, yes or no?
So
So that shift the demand curve, demand for labor right up from DL1 to DL2. So the quantity demanded for labor will increase or expand from QL1 to QL2. Wage rate is constant.
So it shifts to the
If the demand for our product reduces, you don't need to employ more workers, yes or no?
so it shifts to the left.
From DL2 to
The
QL1. And it contracts from QL2 to QL1. Any question about that? Alright. So again, let me just write factors. It's so if the factors leads to increase in demand for labor, it shifts rightward. If it reduces the demand for labor, it shifts leftward. I think it's clear that way.
Yeah.
Any question, please? Shall we move on? Please scroll down, please. Alright, thank you. Let me just go. Go to supply of it, then I have to stop the video.